Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Combat Conversations, and I'm your boy AG, aka the Boxing Guru, and as always, I'm joined by my man today, DB. What's going on with it, baby?
What's going on with you, AG?
I mean, you know me, I'm just reeling back from another eventful weekend in the run.
This is the run.
This is the run, baby. I mean, it just keeps...
It gets better and better.
It keeps delivering. Let's put it like that. You know what I'm saying? We could argue about getting better and better. We talked about last episode. Don't get caught up in the moment. But yet, we talked about it weekend over weekend. It's just
a lot easier said than done.
It is. Weekend after weekend, it's just almost too much to consume. I mean, it's never a bad thing, but that's what we're talking about, how much we had on our plate this weekend. And we're going to break it down, top to bottom, all the events we had. You know, main headliner, Charlo, Brian Castaño.
That was a barn burner.
PBC, putting on a great card, Showtime. Then you had Zurdo taking on. We got a storyline with Zurdo. Should he be fighting Bivol next?
No.
Is the WBA going to get in the way of a unification bout? We'll see about that. We had Blachowicz back up in action. UFC's killing. We had Yoka early in the day, who supposedly was supposed to be the next big thing coming out of the Olympics, but he got his shit rocked. I don't even want to say he got his shit rocked. He got his train derailed because he got dealt with from the beginning. Tony Yoka got exposed by Martin Bakoli. Bad. So full weekend, another slate in the run. So let's just go ahead and pop off with it. The biggest fight and work our way backwards. So let's go for the main entree. Charlo versus Brian Castaño II. Delivered. Absolutely delivered.
Lived up to the hype.
So the main thing, we'll break it down what we saw. But I guess the main thing is did Jamel impress enough to get on the pound for pound list? Because that's all I'm hearing. Put Jamel on your pound for pound list now.
I mean, I know he's on your list.
He's getting honorable mention. I don't know. He's going to work his way up my list. And that pound for pound list is dropping very soon. So be on the lookout for that. Going to explain depth, top to bottom, why boxers are on our pound for pound list. We'll break all that down, even our list. But to keep it on Jamel and Castaño, what did he do to make you at least see him on other people's pound for pound lists and not argue with it? At this case, maybe argue the position of it, how high he is on the list. But
are you asking?
Yeah, I mean, how did Jamel look to you? Go ahead and break that down.
I mean,
how did Jamel look
a lot
to
better?
you?
He looked a lot better in this fight. You know, the first fight, I think he was more trying to stand and bang with Castaño. And in the second fight, he was being real slick, wasn't being stationary, good footwork, utilized his jab. I mean,
his work rate was up.
Very up.
So I guess that's where I was alluding to was.
But I mean, he looked good, but I mean, you know, like you just said earlier, let's not live in the moment.
Right.
He did good, but he's not top 10 pound per pound.
He stepped it up, and I guess the level, since he exceeded anything, what I will admit, he did outperform any measurement that I had previously measured him on versus Tony Harrison, versus Hurd, you know, J-Rock, all these guys. Like, this is a new measuring stick now for me in Charlo. Like, I was impressed by his performance. So now going forward, I expect these type of performances, maybe even a little bit better as you continue to progress, and Jamel's telling you he's getting better every fight. These are the type of fights that become his new measuring stick for me. And I was impressed by what I saw versus Castaño, who was delivering just as much as he was in the first. His work rate was up. He actually outlanded Jamel in total punches, especially in the power punch department. But Jamel was boxing. He was boxing better than he ever has before. Off the jab, was landing clean shots, and everything Brian Castaño was throwing and landing, Jamel was right back on him. And that's what I liked about it. He did bring that Lions only mentality. I got to give it to him. Jamel brought that attitude that made me kind of take a step back before on him. Like, Everybody favored his attitude over Jamal. Well, let me see it. And actually, he went in and delivered versus Castaño.
That he did. And from what I heard, I mean, you know, after his first loss, came back, absolutely destroyed him. Came back against Castaño, and, you know, like you said, he impressed me. You know, this is a new measuring stick for Charlo.
Yeah, so the skills that he brought, now whether or not do we think that those skills stepped up to be on your pound for pound list. But pound for pound list aside, who in the 155 department is gonna give 154 department gonna give Jermell Charlo problems and he essentially kind of maneuver him on the pound for pound list? Because right now you got Tim Shu, and then you basically got Fundora waiting to knock on his door. And I tell you what, that could be two more guys to give him problems too. I mean, Tim Shu ain't no joke, and Fundora's a big motherfucker for 154. Just tall and lanky.
Okay, if he gets past those two, then we can have a serious discussion about him being on the pound for pound list.
A serious discussion. I do believe that too, because what it's going to take to be able to outgo Tim Shu and Sebastian Fundora, who I do believe is probably, you know who else is in that 154 that we about to see?
Who?
Xander Zayas. I mean, I know he's raw and I know he's young, but Xander Zayas poses a serious threat at 154. And probably by the time he gets his, Jermell's going to be long gone, probably moved up to 160, because I don't think he's going to last there if Bud comes creeping up on 154.
So you don't think he'll stick around
No.
and possibly fight Bud?
So I did. So obviously we both picked Castaño in a split decision. Now, Castaño was giving Jermell serious problems. But essentially, too, I did say that if Jermell won, I would feel a little bit happy because Spence and Bud have got to fight. And Spence alluded to it that they're going to fight. So I'm positive this will happen. So if Bud goes ahead and handles Spence like I think he will, where does that leave Charlo wanting to fight Bud? Is he going to want to try to avenge his in-house buddy? No. Or is he going to run?
Run.
I mean, I see it too. I really do believe if Bud beats Spence in an upcoming fight at later this year, at the end of 22,
in which we think we will,
I do not see Jermell Charlo fighting Bud at having 200 speed. I don't see it. Do I want it to happen? Abso-fucking-lutely. But will it happen? I don't think so. Because again, Jermell, I can say he impressed me last week. I can say he impressed me versus Castaño, but I still don't believe what I saw is enough to beat Bud Crawford.
No.
Still not.
Shit, even Boots will take his lunch money.
I believe Boots would do that too. So that's another thing on the pound for pound list. Again, we only talk about, we'll allude to our pound for pound list.
He looked good, but he still has ways to go before we can really sit down and say, hey, Jermell, hey, top 10 pound for pound.
Yeah. Because, again, Boots over here fighting Clayton Ennis, Clayton Ennis. Clayton and Ennis is fighting, and he took out the trash, but it almost like they was paying him to take a dive for Boots to look good. That's what it looked like from the outside. But damn if Boots just ain't that effective and that efficient in the ring. His skill set is beyond through the roof.
No, he's going to be a problem for years to come in that division.
Oh, yeah. No doubt. So, again, if our pound for pound list, especially mine, is based off of skill set and just, I'm not even putting belts into the equation, who's the best, then I feel like if Boots was to fight Jermell Charlo at 154, Boots is beating Jermell Charlo today, tomorrow, next month, on any card in the next year. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It could be, a year from now, 2 years from now, doesn't matter. 10 years from now, don't matter.
So again, the only thing we ever look through things is consistency. Why you put somebody on the list higher when you would put somebody else for that same exact reason lower. I understand why people don't want to put Loma on the list, but yet I don't understand why they won't want to put Loma on the list. So it jumps back and forth. Tank's on the list for some people, but
ESPN's got Tank on the list.
Again, people have different criterias for their pound for pound list, but that's at least you can agree to disagree as a reason why. And when I was speaking about why I don't have Jermell Charlo on my list, maybe then they'd fire back if I had Josh Taylor. Ain't got Josh Taylor on the list neither, and he's undisputed.
Man,
not
fuck
anymore.
Josh
but
Taylor.
I mean, hey, it is what it is. So that was the whole PBC card. I mean, that was a great culmination of the 154 division. Fireworks, absolute fireworks. But to move it on to another division a little bit north of that, 175, where Canelo just come out scathed, not unscathed, scathed. Canelo came out like he went into war with Bivol. And you got Zurdo Ramirez, who's also a Mexican fighter. Dude, Zurdo is big.
Very big.
He's a big 175. You know, we want to talk about size and doesn't matter and all. Zurdo is on the huge side of 175, where Canelo was on the minimized side of 175. Like Canelo had to beef up and eat all the taco meat he could to make 175, but apparently he was vegan, so he didn't eat no taco meat. And then Zurdo is over here deteriorating his body to make 175 and comes in on fight night weighing 205. Holy shit.
That's a big
they need to check these rehydration clauses, and they want to know why fighters like Canelo and stuff put that in the contract. Like, fighters these days are trying to lose so much weight and fight in a division that, you know, we're going to talk about it with David Benavidez and how much he's always trying to lose to make 178. 168. I do keep saying 178. To make 168 when he can easily make 175.
Yeah. You know, but I don't know. Maybe he feels he'll have the most success at 168. Maybe he gets bullied at 175.
He's by the looks of it, he could be worried about that. Because don't know, maybe they know what Bivol was about and they didn't want to face him. Canelo's up for the challenges, but David Benavidez and them ain't putting up for no challenges this early yet. Because Canelo's greatness is certified,
right?
You know, so he's up for these challenges, whereas David Benavidez and them.
So let me ask you,
they still waiting for that greatness certification.
Let's say Canelo, Bivol, they rematch at 168. Bivol wins. Do you still think Charlo, Boo Boo, or Benavidez would be asking for a title fight if
against
Bivol?
I think so. They would be willing to try it, but essentially, I don't see any of them coming out ahead against Bivol. Bivol, we've been high on him. That's nothing new. But at the same time, again, like Charlo, he even showed me another level. And as great as I think he already was, he took it a step further. And I'm like, you know what? I don't see Jamal. I don't see Boo Boo. I don't see David Benavidez. I don't see really many of these guys. And after what Zurdo showed me last night, his last two fights, Gonzalez gave him more problems than Bosel. And again, I'm not overly impressed with Zurdo. I like him a lot. He's a great fighter. He's a little flat-footed, though. He comes forward, too. He's like an in-between,
I wouldn't think,
like an Alexander Usyk type, meaning how he moves, and David Benavidez, how he rarely moves. He's in the middle. He don't move a lot at all, but he's not completely stationary.
Right.
It's just awkward, you know? And Zurdo, again, I think Bivol reigns king at 175. But Zurdo is a formidable opponent, but I don't want the WBA to get in the way of Bivol fighting Beterbiev or Joe Smith to unify and become undisputed.
I don't think they will.
No.
I don't think they'll do that. And Zurdo, he doesn't cross as a guy. He doesn't look like a guy who is going to be pushing for that mandatory anytime soon.
Maybe not. If he's a fan of boxing and he wants to, you know, some of these courses that these guys could take could actually ultimately benefit them in the end, which is many of them do. It's like we know where Zurdo sits. The WBA's got him right up there, mandatory. He's probably ranked in the top 2 or 3 in every other sanctioning body. So if he lets Bivol fight and they become unified and undisputed, then depending on what Canelo's doing, how he performs, if he's fighting Triple G, we don't know what's mixing up with that. But at least he'll be in the driver's seat for something big, and now all the belts will be on the line. And he's going to come out ahead by waiting a little bit. So, and you know these guys, especially De La Hoya, especially fucking Oscar De La Hoya, is not going to put him in the ring with somebody he thinks he could beat. You know why? Because he just fucking said that.
Yeah.
Just said that. Saying how Canelo's promoters are so dumb by putting him in the ring with Bivol. He would have never put Canelo in the ring with Bivol. Dude, you are the problem. You are what's wrong with boxing, okay? Now, I don't care how you look at it. Cherry pick gone wrong. Canelo up for the challenge, dare to be great. I don't care how you look at it. Oscar De La Hoya saying that he would have never put Canelo in the ring with Bivol only shows that Oscar De La Hoya would not put certain fighters in the ring with certain other fighters because he didn't think they would have a shot. He just openly admitted to all his bullshit business.
Hey, just go ahead and put a sign around you that says Trump.
I mean, he's over here trying to look like, the Tony Montana with the flare all hanging out or not button up to the top,
He can look like Tony,
death.
but he ain't gonna be smart like Tony.
No, but he just openly just saying that, me being a smart promoter, I would have known not to put this fighter up against this fighter.
Gee,
What?
Thanks for confirming what we already know.
Essentially, yeah. And just also thank you for implicating yourself on being the hypocrisy of all this bullshit. But then he wants to bitch and complain when certain fighters aren't fighting certain people, but yet he'll openly admit that was a dumb matchup. I wouldn't have put my guy in there. What? He's a champ.
So that confirms Ryan Garcia. So
Exactly.
I mean,
that was a great way to put it. Princess Rye.
Man, Ryan got to be sitting there thinking like,
and then you know how happy his team probably is that Pitbull's pulling out of this? He's probably like, shit, yeah. Now I ain't got to pull out. So, again, that was the two highlights of that boxing last weekend. Jamel Charlo, Zurdo, a lot of news going on with that. Whole lot of news. But shift gears real quick. UFC with a fight night with a great headliner. Jan Blachowicz, former light heavyweight champ of the world, trying to get his title shot back.
Got a big win back since, man, I'm still disappointed on how he performed against Glover. I was really expecting more, but nonetheless, he got a good win. So, I mean, I know what you're going to ask me next. What's next? Does he get a title shot? Not yet.
Well, I guess I was going to ask you, how did he look against Alexander Rakic? It only went 2 rounds.
I know that, but let me just put it to you this way. Like, the round that he won, it was kind of shaky. Swing round was real close. The second round that Radic won, you knew he won.
Right.
And I think as the fight would have went on, I think that's how it would have turned out. So I'm not saying he would have lost, but regardless, it's not how you want to see a fight end. You don't want to see a stoppage of any kind.
No, I mean, a bad
Especially
injury. You don't want to see it like that.
Yeah, especially to a top 5, because Radic was number 3 in the rankings.
Yeah.
So you don't want to see a big injury like that to
No. So, but just the way he performed, I guess, you could say Jan still got it a little bit. He still performed well. Now, Glover's over here tweeting that as soon as he takes care of Jerry in UFC 275, that we can run it back. So you might actually get an opportunity to watch Jan flip the script.
It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen?
No. Jerry's about to be a new champ, and
oh, snap.
Yeah.
Early UFC 275 prediction in the house?
Bro, Jerry's like that.
Okay, all right. I mean, I know we still got weeks to get that mail-in ballot.
Glover's like Phil Nicholson of MMA. That was a nice PGA championship win, but but It was nice while it lasted, but Jerry, he's about to he's going to be the new 205 Kingpin.
Okay. Early prediction in the crib. So again, does Jan deserve that fight against Jerry next automatically? Like, at least give him a shot against Jerry? Because if he's already still ranked number 1 and he took out number 3, albeit injury and everything, but you know how it went down.
He'll probably get it, but I want to see one more fight before I can confidently say, yes, Jan deserves another shot at the 205 strap.
Makes sense. Because I would like to see one more fight too, because he was underwhelmingly disappointing against Glover. And in this one, you didn't really get a chance to see anything. You know, it wasn't long enough. You know, Reich could come up with the injury, and it just wasn't, to me, like you said, it wasn't a full measuring stick of being able to justify whether or not you think he should automatically get that title shot back. Give him one more, run it back with another top one.
Do good, perform well, and
then we right back to it where we think that you could be in the driver's seat to get that title back. So, Jan Blachowicz, it is what it is, baby. Good
win regardless.
Yeah. And just to cap it off for the entire weekend, that Triller Fight Club was that concert was legit. I'm an old school hip hop fan, and Onyx and Cypress Hill, it was actually pretty nice to watch and bump and listen to while we watching the entire, Charlo Castaño card, Zurdo Ramirez. I actually thought the Triller, we've been on past record. Triller needs to get their shit together, and they can be a player in the game if they putting on good fights, because they putting on good shows. They just don't have the talent and the draw inside the ring yet.
Yeah, they
gotta stop putting on 40-year-old fights. Pulev and Kovalev is not the fucking answer, okay? Great show. We wanna be a part of it.
Didn't they drop the Camboses and?
Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah, no, they dropped the Camboses and TFE. Yeah,
okay, my bad.
Yeah, they dropped the ball on that. Put it like that.
I knew they had a big fight, but they dropped
Jim
the ball
Lampley was supposed to be coming back. All that. Now they had Showtime Sean Porter. They had Ray Flores. Fucking the greatest ring announcer of all time, Michael Buffer. So you understand my vibe right now. Triller can be a player in the game. They just got to stop putting on Kovalev and Pulev. That's their fucking problem. They will get people to watch it if they can put on quality. They need to come on, holla at Jake Paul with this MVP Promotions and make Triller a home field for MVP Promotions, like Matchroom does with DAZN, like Golden Boy does with DAZN, Top Rank with ESPN, PBC with Showtime and Fox. You get my point.
Yeah.
MVP Promotions, come on over to Triller. Get those top-ranked names, young names, and put that shit on Triller, and that'll appease to the younger generation with the music and stuff. Triller's on the verge of something big. They just need to get their shit together.
No, I agree. That's... Yeah.
And like we talked about earlier, Tony Yoka got dealt with by Martin Bacoli, who I'm hearing they want Martin Bacoli to go ahead and jump up fight Deontay Wilder. Crazy shit you see based off of one victory or one L.
So Wilder's still fighting?
We clamoring for it. He doesn't know what he wants. Maybe he could fight Pulev on Triller. Who knows? So since Floyd's fight got canceled and we don't have to talk about that, I guess we can move on to know what's coming in next week, because the run doesn't stop.
I actually was kind of disappointed by that.
Yeah, me too. Who doesn't want to see TBE?
Well, I really didn't want to see TBE, but Anderson was on that card. Anderson Silva.
Yeah, they did have a lot of good things going on about that. Like I said, but essentially that didn't happen, so we don't have to dwell on it too much. I hear maybe about a week. I don't know, depending on how the UAE handles that or whatever. So Floyd will be back in action, TBE, even though everybody says they didn't want to see it, but yet they'll be tuned in. May 21st, the run continues. Got more great combat sports in action. Started off by PBC. David Benavidez back in action versus David Lazarus. People are surprised that he has come back the way he did after that massacre Triple G gave him a couple years ago. Called that man Lazarus, coming back from that. So, David Lemieux ain't nobody really special that we want to see David Benavidez fighting. Like, why?
I mean, is he not getting the fights that he wants? Are people ducking him, or is he doing the ducking?
That's a question that remains to be seen. Like we've talked about before, especially with this Oscar De La Hoya shit we just joked about. It doesn't matter, the fans are only going to go based off your word. So if you out here ducking questions and saying we're going to go on the other side, just keep it in-house, not go on the other side of the street. It's a whole bunch of different shit involved with that. But essentially, your word is what we take. So if you literally calling people out on the mic, in front of the camera, off script, all these times, we're going to take your word that it is you who wants to fight. So, again, David Benavidez he only really alludes to everybody knows we want him and Canelo. We know we want him and Canelo, blah, blah, blah. But where's it at with the rest of these guys? David Morrell called him out. If he could take a fight with David Morrell, that would be a legacy fight. But he's not going to take a fight with David Morrell, who's the WBA regular champ.
He did call out Charlo.
I mean, but what's going to happen on that? We know where Charlo stands. Don't know. Our back is against the wall, and you could tell how speechless we are because some of these guys need to just get in the ring and settle all this. There's too many. He needs to fight hims and all that. Now he's fighting David Lemieux, who none of us actually really believe David Lemieux has a shot against David Benavidez.
No. I mean, we'll tune in just to tune in because
we want to see how David Benavidez is going to look.
Right.
That's it. Is he going to take out the trash?
Probably, but again, it's not something we really want to see from David Benavidez.
It's not. So once we move on from David Lemieux, we can already ask the question now, which should be next for David Benavidez, and where should he be fighting in the 168? Who do you want to see him take on next? We all know it should, so ignore that question. Who do you want to see David Benavidez face off with to settle all this? Do you want to see him more so Jamal move up from 160 potentially and fight him at 168?
That or fight with Caleb Plant? Caleb was running his mouth earlier.
Caleb's been a little hot on Twitter lately. Shout out to Caleb Plant.
Right.
He ain't letting fans get to him for shit. He's popping off on Twitter. So I would like to see that too. Because that, to me, that would...
I mean, he has options.
He does have options. And we've talked about the triangle theory before. The triangle theory in combat sports is a tough equation to really work out. It don't really work. But in this case, David Benavidez fighting Caleb Plant and how he can deal with the style and what he does versus what Canelo did will give you a good assumption on whether or not we think David Benavidez belongs in Canelo's class.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't really mean anything, essentially, if Canelo and David Benavidez was to duke it out, which is a fight we love to see. But I would, again, like you just alluded to, I would love to see David Benavidez come back against Caleb Plant and really solidify whether or not he deserves his legit shot at Canelo. Because Caleb Plant got his by default, being a champ. I get it. Canelo trying to clean out the division and did exactly that.
I mean, do you think he could possibly go up to 175? Try to fight Bivol or anything?
I would like to see that too. But again, since he's going to stay in 168, you may as well go ahead and take on.
To make weight at 168.
And he's going to struggle probably to make weight against Lemieux. We'll see. Scales is this coming week. But again, he may miss. He's going to come in very close. He definitely isn't going to come in too far under because he's already struggling to make the weight.
Right.
So, again, David Benavidez back in action versus a trash can. Again, Lemieux's he's a trash can by those standards. Let's put it like that. He needs to take out the trash. David Benavidez goes too long with David Lemieux. It's not going to be a good look. It's really not.
I don't know about that.
It's not going to be a good look.
What if Benavidez is one of those
Triple
fighters?
G is still an option in these plays. I know we didn't even mention Triple G because he supposedly has a date with Canelo. But you get what I'm saying. If Triple G was to get in the mix, I get it. That was years ago. But I still think if Triple G fought Lemieux today, we getting the same outcome. Triple G's not letting Lemieux get him.
I get that. But
if David Benavidez goes too far with him, no, it won't be a good look.
What I was gonna say is, what if he's like Bivol? I'm not saying he's skilled like Bivol. But I'm saying, what if like Bivol, he kind of plays down to his competition?
Talking about David Benavidez?
Yeah.
No, I mean, because his style, again, not comparing Bivol to Floyd by no means, but we talked about how Floyd liked to play with his food based off his style. David Benavidez's style is come forward to get you out. Better BF style. Better BF's 100% knockout rate. I'm going in there to get you out. I don't play with my food.
Has David Benavidez done anything to tell you that Lemieux's going to hang around with them?
No, he shouldn't. No.
Okay, then.
And Lemieux has showed me nothing that he should be able to hang around with David Benavidez. There's two sides to that coin. So just like you said, if David Benavidez is not in there to play with his food type of style fighter to me, he wants to go in there and get you out as quick as possible. So if he goes long, he's frustrated and I should have got this guy out earlier. And David Lemieux has showed me nothing to show, yeah, he could actually take David Benavidez late in the rounds. Neither one. So if this fight goes longer than 6, 7, not a good look for David Benavidez.
Okay.
Just not. So I'm predicting something early. Within 3/4 of the fight, 8 to me, official prediction, the fight will not see the 9th round. And if it does see the 9th round,
I got Benavidez by 5.
If it does see the 9th round, to me, it won't be a good look for Benavidez. Because either Lemieux is doing something special and outboxing him, which he shouldn't be, or David Benavidez is just not landing punches or something. I don't know. David Benavidez should be able to take that trash out in under 3/4 of the fight.
He will?
Yeah, okay. So we on board with that one. Now, shift gears a little bit. Different promotion, Top Rank up in the building, putting on another good fight this May 21st on regular ESPN. Shout out to Top Rank for continuing to provide great quality fights without the upchuck of pay-per-view money. The Zone. Oh, it is Canelo, so I understand, but it is what it is. Still, you lied to us, man. The Zone, you lied to us. So, back in action on Top Rank. Janibek Alim, okay, who was Boo Boo's mandatory, and Boo Boo jetted up to 168, who then copped out with an injury, and now they not sanctioning that fight. He's got to find a replay. Boo Boo ain't fighting anytime soon once again.
Boo Boo is due to
a long hiatus for my man Demetrius Andre. So anyway, the monster's back in action. Janibek Alim, who we know is an under-the-radar type of fighter. Kind of like Bivol. Nobody really knows who he is. The few who kind of know him by name don't expect too much of him because they don't know him.
Basically, high risk, low reward.
Very high risk with a minimal reward.
Okay.
Best way to put it. That is the best way to put it. And Janibek Alim is on that level of potential, skill, and no namesake, but yet he's on the verge, knocking Virgil Ortiz, boots, guys knocking on the door. Janibek Alim can put on a show. Now, he is fighting another no-name undefeated fighter. So we're going to get the hungriest of the hungry in Danny Dignam. A young, I believe he's a British fighter. You know, guys like...
Do you really know anything about him?
No, I don't know. I don't know. So, again, we can go back and watch highlights and see if he's the type of fighter. But the reason we know Janibek is Janibek's last couple fights have been on main cards, co-main and events and stuff. So I've seen Janibek's last 3-4 fights, done some research on him, and, you know, essentially have come to the conclusion that I realize Janibek is a great fighter and not many people still know about him.
Okay.
Danny Dignam has a chance to become that guy. Even if he doesn't win, let's say, for instance, he puts on a good performance. Again, we know where a fighter can stand with only 1 or 2 losses. Man can still be dangerous. But essentially, he has his chance. And I'm predicting Janibek to put on a performance. I don't know too much about Danny Dignam. So, is he going to be one of those guys that come and spoil and upset the party? Cambosis and Jack Catterall style?
Is he going to pull a Sandor Martin?
Sandor Martin up in them up. Going to be a great fight. And a co-main on that one, Jamel Herring back up in the building after his L with Shakur. I'm anxious to see how he comes back.
That wasn't just an L.
It was an L, man. Look, I know we hyped Shakur, and Shakur is that dude, and that was his coming out party. But Jamel, tough fighter. Jamel ain't no scrub.
I'm not saying he's trash. I'm not saying he's
hell no,
garbage.
Jamel ain't trash by no means. Not at all. Because here's the thing, for us to put so much stock into that win over with Shakur Stevenson, has got to show that the respect that we have for Jamel Herring. But, you know, again, I didn't need to see him beat up on Oscar Valdez because I wasn't putting too much stock in Oscar Valdez. If I really was, I'd be like, oh man, can't wait to see if Shakur could do this. He did, blah, blah, blah. I didn't need to see none of that like I alluded to last episode. But for him to beat Jamel Herring like that was like okay. So now Jamel Herring's coming back against an undefeated fighter himself, Jermaine Ortiz. Who again...
Is this a big fight for
Jamel
Herring?
No. What's a big fight for Jamel Herring? You know, comeback fight, see where he's at, see where he still stands. But this is a big fight for Jermaine Ortiz to, again, we all know the triangle theory, but if you can go up in there and perform very well against a Jamel Herring, who we know is a former champ, knowing how Shakur just beat him, that absolutely does not mean you're going to be on Shakur's level, by no means. But I promise you, if Jermaine Ortiz goes in there and puts on a similar like performance, we will be buzzing about Jermaine Ortiz. Wow, did you see that performance he put on TV, on ESPN against Herring? To me, that's a type of fight, a guy like him, his stock could come out 200, 300, 400% higher.
Okay.
No doubt. Or all that fire could be doused if Jamel Herring decides to go up in there and be
I think Jamal Herring, I think he's going to go in and take care of business.
Yeah, I mean, he's... I think he will too, but again, Jermaine Ortiz, another young fighter, don't really know too much about. It's his chance to really stamp his name in front of a broad audience on ESPN.
It is, but I'm not going to expect anything big out of him. You know, I think the fight will be close, contested, but I think Jamal will take care of business.
So, kind of on the same page with that. And last but not least, just the last thing to kind of want to watch, Combat Sports Weekend, UFC, Holly Holm back up in the building. Had the biggest upset of all time. I mean, Holly Holm's literally popular because of one fight.
You know she used to box.
I know. But I mean, you know, she got her, you know where she got her popularity.
Right. I
mean, she's a namesake off of one fight.
Mm-hmm.
Off of that Ronda Rousey fight. And coming back fighting Kathleen Vieira, who could potentially spoil the party. It's a fight like that. When you beat a big name, you become a name kind of yourself in the core hardcore fans of it. So people will remember your name.
Right.
And this is her opportunity for that. She'll get an opportunity to mix it up like we've been having a lot of mix-ups. So, once again, be on the lookout for that new Pound for Pound list episode. Gonna break it down from top to bottom. Who's on that list and who ain't making the Pound for Pound list. And we're gonna tell you why. So,
a lot of new names. A lot of names falling off.
Oh yeah, there's definitely gonna be some names creep up on that Pound for Pound list, and it's definitely gonna be, especially since the last episode we had. So that's, 6 months in the making, at least.
It was that long ago?
At least, yeah. We flipping the script on this one, so this could be a totally change, top to bottom. Definitely some new names in there. Definitely some names on there on the old list that was criticized for being on there, and now all of a sudden they got their list flooded with the names. So we can't wait to break that one down. That one's coming, so be on the lookout for that one. So episode 24 in the bag. Once again, I've been your boy, the Boxing Guru. Please follow us both on Twitter at Combat Convo 504, at Combat Convo 502, AG and Drake. Anything else for the fans, man?
No, man. Another great episode. Always enjoy being with you.
Already, we appreciate it. So, thank y'all for listening. Peace.